It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circular Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back. Yes, we are back for another week um, of live streaming for you, talking about movies and TV shows and happenings going on in the world today. And with me, as ever, co-piloting this thing with me is the homeboy Rob.
Yo.
Some fun things to talk about tonight. Of course, we got the toys that made us review, and the episode that we'll be doing is it's the second episode of the third season, which goes into something that is a very big part of my childhood, and I'm sure also Robert's as well, and that's Power Rangers.
Yes, sir.
So this episode, the episode of the docu-series delves into the history of Power Rangers, not just as a toy, but also kind of gives the backstory of how Power Rangers came to America.
Yes.
And it was all very fascinating.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the series is the toys that made us, but I really feel like I got it almost felt like they were talking more about the show than the toys. The toys were almost like a kind of an after.
Right. If the toys were almost vestigial, in this sense, because without the TV show, there wouldn't have been the toy sales. But we'll get into that a little bit later, as well as I guess our plans for this month aren't exactly materializing the way we'd want, or even at all. So I think I don't know. Maybe going forward, we just might do like ad hoc movie reviews as opposed to doing like themes. I mean, if we can, because we are going to do our 2 week break at the towards the end of this month.
Yeah.
And so, I think it just might. I don't know. Maybe we'll try. If it happens, it happens. But we'll not be making any promises here. Yeah, because the original plan was for this month to do like our East versus West compare
right
theme, but for one reason or another, our plans are not working because we wanted to bring in friend of the show Eric Nam on to come and talk about it because he's a huge not just Japanese movie fan, but like Akira Kurosawa fan, which I think all three of the movies that we were going to compare
are all Kurosawa classics.
Yeah. So because since he is a Kurosawa nut fanatic, we definitely wanted him to have him on and give his take on it. But because of conflict, and schedule and things like that, it's just not seeming to happen. So I think maybe we just might do these ad hoc movie discussions. And tonight we'll be discussing the movie The Prestige. Surprisingly, one of the Nolan movies Robert hadn't seen.
I don't know how this one skipped my gaze, but yeah, I was blown away, to say the least.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, because
I was actually very surprised that this is like this Christopher Nolan movie that you hadn't seen, because you're a big Nolan fan.
I am a huge Nolan fan, and I don't know why I never saw that movie. Maybe because when it came out, I guess I didn't realize it was a Nolan film.
Maybe. Yeah, and maybe you got a little confused because that kind of how it happens in Hollywood. Two studios will come out with like similar premise movies, and the year that Prestige came out from Warner Brothers, I forget what studio it was, but The Illusionist came out also. Another.
You know what? That's probably exactly what it is, because I remember seeing The Illusionist, but I never saw The Prestige, which The Prestige is a much better film.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, because I've watched both as well, and The Prestige the superior movie by far.
Yeah. The well, and it kind of this the reason we're doing the Prestige is we kind of had a not really planned for, but we ended up doing a impromptu Jerks movie marathon. We had Andy, myself, and another friend of the podcast, Dan, and we initially we were going to do something else, and then it's like, well, let's check out these movies. And it started out with one, and it's like, oh, now we're watching this one, we got to watch this one. And then it ended up going from 2 movies to 4 movies, and we we ended up and then we were talking about movies, so it was a 12-hour day between the three of us.
Yeah,
um
yeah. It was actually
and
last week because it was Wednesday. I
yeah,
remember.
and we had a great time doing it. I saw some movies that I hadn't seen before. Andy saw some that he had never seen before. Dan saw some that he had never seen before. So it was a great time. And actually, I think the movies that we watch, I think we're all going to talk about them here at some point. Yeah, we got the Zatoichi versus Yojimbo. We're going to be talking about that very soon. Um, we're talking about the Prestige tonight. What we watched, Crimson Tide, and what was the other movie that we watched? Um,
I can't recall. Yeah, so we watched, Zatoichi, Meet Yojimbo, Crimson Tide. What was the other one?
I know we watched. It bugged me. I can't. I'm drawing a blank. I'm getting old, Andy. I can't
You're
remember
getting
what I.
old. I'm sure it'll come back to me, or sometime. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, there's no, yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say let's get get it started and ask you about your weekend. But I know what your weekend was like because, again, I spent the weekend with you, so
that's right. Yeah, we spend a lot of time together, Andy.
I know.
My wife makes fun of me because it's like, are you married to him or me?
I know.
And
And
honestly,
to which
sometimes
I reminded her that I am your hetero life partner. So
right. And honestly, there's times where, like, you know what? Sometimes I'd rather be married to you, Andy. It
no, I
was
get it. I get that. If it were possible, I'd want to be married to myself as well.
yeah, I mean, it's oh, you know what? Okay, it was Inglorious Bastards is what we
That's
watched.
what it was. That's right.
That's right,
That's what it
yeah.
was.
Which upon because that was my second viewing of it. I didn't like
Uh-huh.
it when it first came out, but
Uh-huh.
on second viewing, I actually did enjoy it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's one of Tarantino's better films.
I still like. I mean, I'm still a sucker. I love Kill Bill Volume One.
Right.
Um, and Pulp Fiction's good.
Of course. And
A
then
lot of great
Reservoir
quotable
Dogs.
lines, and was Reservoir Dogs is also really good too.
Hmm.
Did he do The Usual Suspects, or was that somebody else?
No, that was Bryan Singer.
Okay, yeah, that's well, because yeah, that's another movie I love too.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I upon further viewing, I really enjoyed it. Inglorious Bastards a lot.
Yeah, it's a good film.
Yeah,
It's a good film. All right, I guess yeah, let's get started. And I guess we'll talk about the only uh, bit of news uh, that we have planned for tonight, and it's still in the same vein of what kind of like what's what we're still talking about here all the way in December, um, and that is the coronavirus lockdowns. Um, but tonight we're bringing up something very personal because it has to do with one of Robert's favorite bars, which is the
yeah,
Pineapple Hill. uh,
Saloon.
Saloon and Grill. And I don't know if anyone out there is not on social media or hasn't heard about this or seen it or seen the video itself. But you have the owner of the Pineapple Hill Saloon, just giving a heartfelt, and I think, like with the frustration of, everyone, particularly those who own small businesses, just like the frustration that, uh, that anyone in her position would be feeling. And that is, in the video, it's her, in front of her place, and she walks back to the outdoor eating area where she had set up and spent lots of money setting up and getting all the proper approvals, and and I'm sure, and I because of my recent part-time job, I know she probably she had to submit plans for that to the city.
Yeah,
And
I mean it's hundreds of thousands of dollars that all these business owners have thrown down the fire chute. It's just and now it's like, oh well, no, you can't do that anymore.
Right. Well, like, yeah, and so she shows her outdoor eating area that she set up at cost, and she says that she goes on to say that she did she went above and beyond, because like the minimum was 6 feet, but she went she did the max she did a maximum of like 7 8 feet apart from each table.
Yeah,
And then of course we all know that the mayor of LA, I affectionately refer to him as Airhead Garcetti, um, made the put out the ordinance for cancel or putting the kibosh on all in-person dining at restaurants, including outdoor dining. But in a move of just unfathomable hypocrisy, allowed a movie company to set up an outdoor dining area in the same parking lot 50 feet away from her dining area.
yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
And took the words right out of my mouth, and it's, at a certain, and the thing I want to highlight here is in the video, she says, someone needs to do something, you know, and, you know, and I was watching this through, through my phone. I was like screaming at her, as like, you do it, open up, fuck all of them, fuck the mayor, fuck the governor, fuck all these ordinances, and just open up. At this point, it's just open up. You do it, because no one's
Yeah,
gonna come and no one's gonna come and save your business, because all of our so-called leaders have stabbed us in the back.
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
that city council lady that voted that she was the deciding vote, 3-2. She was the deciding vote in closing or shutting down all outdoor dining. It was her, and and again, in her hypocrisy, she, like, the day she voted to shut down outdoor dining, she goes to her favorite Italian restaurant in Santa Monica, and has dinner
of course.
the day she voted on the matter. So it's like
Why is this so hard for
all of our representatives, all of our leaders are stabbing us in the back. So why should we follow what why should we follow? First of all, we have no onus. There's no real onus to follow them, particularly the governor mandates,
Yeah,
because it's just
and
because remember, or even the mayor's edicts, because if you listen, they always say, I'm giving the order. It's not like he doesn't say the legislature has decided. He doesn't say the legislature has decided, or the city council has decided, but he says, I'm going to.
and that's the thing. It's like where, okay, you know what? If our elected representatives are the ones, if they're all making that decision, based off of, evidence or whatever, I can maybe swallow that more. I'm still not going to be happy about it, but when you have these rogue mayors and governors just, fuck it, I'm making a decision, and you peons are the ones that just have to follow it. That's when it's like time to get rid of these people. Um, they have, they're taking power hardly anyone's pushing back, and it's time for us to say fuck all. Sorry, fuck all that, and to just like you said, open up. I'm friends with the owner of Pineapple Hill. I'm friends with her son. I'm friends with a lot of the people that work there.
Yeah, we
And
had her son on the podcast, the main podcast.
yeah,
And he was talking about how and this is kind of a known thing that restaurants work on razor thin margins as it is.
they all do. Even like the top like Michelin star restaurants. I
Right,
mean, it's
exactly.
still
Yeah, restaurants they run on they run on razor thin margins. When they're operating at 100% capacity. So
right.
like how much are they? I don't know. So how much more are they not making when they're at 25 or 50% capacity?
Yeah, it's just it's insane. And honestly, like I hope that she does say like, you know what, fuck these people. I'm just gonna be opening up, and honestly, I'll be the first one in line and
Hells
protest.
yeah, hells yeah. Yeah, no, we'll be there. We'll be your first. We'll be your first patrons.
Yeah, I mean
Because
that's it. Not only is it like obviously it's been my bar for a long time. It's not just a bar though. It's a great place to eat. I've had so much fun there. I've celebrated so many different occasions there. You and I have spent a lot of time there. It's
mhm.
just it's almost like a home away from home. It's
Yeah,
our
and like
tears
yeah, and the staff are wonderful people.
yeah,
I mean, you know the staff more than I do, but even just like the staff that I have come in contact with or had the privilege of getting to know over the years, they've all been wonderful people. And
yeah,
they're just ordinary people, trying to make a living and just live their lives. But now, like they're using they're using this virus with an absolutely absurd survivability rate, and making it out to be the next, making it out to be like the bubonic plague.
yeah. It's just it's ridiculous. The one thing I am kind of was pleased to find out because I was kind of worried that maybe like because obviously I for the time being I've moved churches. Andy and I are going to church together, and
Mm-hmm.
when this whole thing started, because I'm my old church still has not opened up once. They haven't opened once. They're still
Mm-hmm.
doing all the Zoom stuff,
Right.
and it's a church there that honestly they have the room to be able to. Okay, if you're worried about the virus, okay, you know what? I get it. I understand. You have families. You're worried. People that are maybe have weak immune systems. Okay, fine, whatever. But we have a campus that is big enough to okay, maybe like instead of doing only like two services, like open it up to doing maybe like 4 or 5, and you spread it out because we have to fit all of our church brothers and sisters. We could
Mm-hmm.
do that. We have the staff. They have the capacity to do that. And then our church now is way smaller. Like I mean, it's not even a fifth of um,
Right. Yeah.
my
Yeah.
old
Of your
church.
former church. Yes.
And I was worried that they were just gonna like, well, crap, like, oh, the government rats, the government like stepped in, we can't meet anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still meeting. You know what? Honestly, like, I'm thankful for that because it's being able to be there on Sundays to just be with fellow Christians, like
Mm-hmm.
that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And
I mean.
I'm glad that like, they have the balls enough to say like, you know what, fuck this. We're just gonna meet. They obviously we still have like, the mask and all that stuff. We're taking all the precautions. Fine, I can live with that.
Mhm.
But the fact that like we
Right.
have we have a majority of church leaders that just have no fucking balls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I mean, and people might say like, "Oh, and Andy, you're against masks, but you wear a mask at church." It's like, well, yeah, because it's my pastor who I've known for over 20 years. is asking me to. It's not some politician that I maybe didn't even vote for who's telling me to do this. No, it's like I have a relationship with my pastor, and he says like, okay, we can meet, but everyone has to wear a mask. But okay, that's
Okay,
fine.
great.
That's fine. Like it's like
I'll do that.
as long as it's saying it's like, oh well, because the government says that we have to wear masks, we're gonna wear masks. Like, no, like we when my church decided to open up again, they came up, the leaders got together and they decided on certain protocols. And so, because I have a relationship with them, and because it's, because we have a pre-established relationship, and it's because it's, that, something that they have decided on as part of, like, as a community, and which I'm a part of, and I'm gonna abide.
And it's kind of like, and maybe some people see this as hypocritical. Okay, I would disagree with that, but there's certain, especially when it comes to the Christian community, like it's not just about me, it's about everyone. And I know some people, we keep saying that the facts are out there that this virus it's really not as deadly or scary as everyone's making it out to be. It's not the bubonic plague. It's not something like unknown. And hell, we even have like vaccines that are coming out that are 95% effective, supposedly, which that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's still people that are like, because they watch the news and they've kind of given into that, which is okay, fine. But they're worried. Okay, and but they still want to. Hey, you know what? They're still going out to church though. Which okay, obviously you're not that afraid. You're
Mm-hmm.
still willing to go out and worship. And but they're like, I would like us to be wearing a mask. Okay, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Right, because I
Um,
mean, yeah, because even for you, Robert, again, you've just joined my church, or at least starting attending to join, or at least starting attending my church. But because you are a fellow believer, you are a fellow Christian. If your fellow Christian asked you to wear a mask, outside of, let's say, like the government, mandate, then you're still within honor, because you're following what your fellow Christian is asking of you.
yeah, that like I said, I have no problem with that. I'll do that all day long. No
Right.
problem.
Exactly.
And honestly, even with like some of the businesses, like where obviously I understand like a lot of them are, how sue crazy people are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, there a lot of these businesses are like, just come inside if you're gonna utilize our business, please wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I get the idea, like because there's some asshole that's gonna be out there. It's like some blue haired blue check mark off Twitter that's gonna be like, they're not wearing a mask, I'm suing, I got sick from them. And then then you have lawsuit, and then that's potentially a business loss. They get sued into oblivion
Right.
because
And I
some
mean,
asshole.
yeah, If I know, because I even struggled with this too initially, with like the mask mandate and everything. Um, but but if you want to stay in honor, then you ask to see a manager or someone who can speak on behalf of the business, and you ask them to ask you, say, hey, I
Right.
want you to ask me to wear it. I'm not going to just wear it because the governor said so, or because you put up a sign. I want to be asked by a living person to wear this. Or you could, or if or if you want to get them in a trap, be like, all right, if someone comes in from the business and says, hey, you need to wear a mask. It's like, sure, I'd be happy to, if you can promise, if you can demonstrate that I have the coronavirus, or that or that someone in your business has the coronavirus.
Right.
That's a perfectly good way of still being in honor, because you're not saying that you won't wear it, but you want certain conditions to be met. If businesses can impose conditions, then why you as the customer who's giving them your money, why can't you have conditions as well?
It's like, and I'm okay with it, like I said, and if those, for me, if those conditions are met, like, okay, yeah, great, no problem. I like I said, I now that I know, like, it's not just some rando that's like, oh, we're just complying for it because the government tells us so.
Hmm.
Because honestly, like a lot of these, the media class, our political class, hell, even like the a lot of the medical community. You look at a few weeks ago where our governor in chief, Patrick Bateman,
Right.
is out with at this 3-star Michelin restaurant, with his celebrating a birthday with his friends. Which
Hmm.
honestly, go for it. I have no problem with that. The problem I have is that you're telling all these businesses that they have to, and they're maskless, by the way, with
Hmm.
all and a lot
And they
of
were
the
inside.
inside with the medical elites that are in
Yeah, they're
charge
yeah.
of,
It was
like,
like yeah, his friends were they might very well be friends, but they were also medical lobbyists.
right. And my point is, like, that's fine. I have no problem with that. The problem I have, though, is that these are the people that are in charge of just making these unconstitutional mandates that, and clearly they're not worried about the virus. So why the fuck should we be?
Hmm.
And why should we comply with these people?
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean,
And
yeah,
we
and I mean,
outnumber them.
just
We employ them. We pay their salary. We
our taxes. The the 30% that's taken out of your paycheck.
which is probably going to be 60% soon.
Right. I mean, yeah. Yeah, that 30% that's taken out of your paycheck every month. That goes to the government. That's our money. Going to them.
Yeah,
So
it's
I don't think it's too much to ask for uh, to have certain demands of your employees.
exactly.
And I mean just
And
just trying to get back to the main story. Merrick Garcetti did respond to her saying like, "Oh, my heart breaks for you," but it's really about we're trying to keep everyone safe. It's like your heart is
fuck
breaking. Your
you.
heart is obviously not breaking for this
I,
woman
I, I don't I don't
because you
rely
imposing
on
these
Eric Garcetti
you
to keep me
bullshit
safe.
requirements.
I don't need Eric Garcetti worrying about me and trying to keep me safe. I can keep myself safe. Thank you very much.
Exactly. I
I,
mean, I've said it the entire time. If the what's that Reagan quote? As long
it's
all the
like the worst things to hear are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
well, that one too, but it's also the American people are smart enough. As long if you give them the facts and get out of their way, then they'll take care of business. I mean, something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, all the government had to do was give us the information, give us the facts, and we'll make our own risk assessments. And we
And
could and we could we could and then each business could institute their own policies where they want to wear whether they want to implement a mask policy, but for their customers or hand sanitizer or social distancing, whatever. Just give us the information and we'll make our own determinations.
yeah, because initially, even before like a lot of these mandates come out, there were some businesses that are like, hey, like we're gonna try to do some safety stuff. Make sure can you wear a mask when you come in? Hey, all right, that's cool, no problem. I have no problem with that. But now I have a problem because you have just this authoritarian, just shit show when clearly they don't care. They're not worried, and
Right.
it's a power grab. And you look at and it's the thing is they're telling you exactly what they're doing. Like it's hell, like was it just the other like week or so? You have, I mean, there's that I forget what that group they meet up in like this like Davos thing like every year, and it's this like kind of socialist
Yeah,
like
the World
great
Economic Forum.
yeah, they talk about this great reset, and you got guys like uh, Prime Minister Ken over in Canada, Justin Trudeau, talking about the Great Reset and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, this pandemic's really gonna allow us to just reset everything and like kind of and do all this stuff and like reset the economy and go for social justice, and it's like they're telling you exactly what they're trying to do, and you guys are just like, yeah, okay, fine. I'm I have no job and all, my business is going, is gone. But yeah, okay, that seems okay. And you're just like, instead of just saying, you know what, fuck you all, like we voted you in, we have the say. And if we choose to say we're opening our business and we all do it, what are they going to do? They might arrest one or two of us, but they can't arrest us all.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. The same, a similar situation happened at this bar in New York, New York City, Staten Island specifically. Where a guy, he just decided, what, I'm just gonna open up my bar. And then of course he got a visit from the sheriffs, and then what is it? He then he kind of trolled them and said like, oh well, this is an autonomous zone now.
Yeah.
Kind of taking inspiration from the summer with the Chaz
Yeah.
in Seattle, and he's like, yeah, all the food is free. All we just asked for a donation.
Yeah.
But
And,
even yeah,
and you also have like I think it was I want to say it was in Michigan. There was another, I think it was another business that had opened up, and you have the police like, well, you guys are not masking up. It's like, okay, well, you need a warrant to just like come in here and like start
oh
making arrests. Do you
yeah,
have a
yeah, that was
warrant?
Buffalo. That was in New York State. Yeah,
Oh,
Buffalo.
was that in Buffalo? Okay, so I missed that. I mixed that up because I was listening to
Yeah.
like there was a story in Michigan I was listening to, and there was this story too. That's right. It was
Hmm.
in Buffalo. It's like you
Yeah,
you
there's a
guys don't have a
video. Yeah, and they're just like, yeah, and like the businesses in like that plaza or whatever were having a meeting, and kind of planning the revolt as it were.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's when the police showed up, and like the person from the Department of Public Health. And yeah, and they just they kind of banded they band look watch that video. They banded together, and they were able to get the police and the Department of Health lady out of the building.
Oh, and by the way, media and BLM and Antifa, that's what a protest is. No one was beat up. No Molotov cocktails were thrown. Nothing was robbed.
Yeah,
You
that
just had
that was
something
a
that
that
were
that was a
exercising
peaceful
their
protest.
rights as American citizens, and they won.
Right, and that was an actual peaceful protest.
Right. You come back with a warrant, and then you can arrest us. Thank you very
Right. Yeah.
much.
Exactly. Yeah. Because they weren't doing anything. That's not granted to them in the Constitution. And so yeah, like I mean, know your rights. I mean, yeah, like I mean, I remember we were texting back and forth after you realized that it was Pineapple Hill, where I was
Yeah,
like, yeah,
because I think you had sent it to me like because I was working, I saw it, and I was like, oh, I'll check it out later, and
mm-hmm,
then it popped up again on another person that I follow on Instagram. And was like, wait a second, this is a thing that Andy sent me, and then
mm-hmm.
I watched it. I was like, holy shit, this is Pineapple Hill. Like I had no
Exactly.
idea, and
Yeah, that's
that's
your watering
and
hole.
I know her, and she's a wonderful lady,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like my heart broke. It's like and I had the same reaction. It's just you just got to open up. You can't wait for the government to. They're just you're giving them too much power. Take it back. We the people.
I know. I mean, that's why I titled like this segment like "I Need a Hero." But it's like you be the hero. Just open up, and again, kind of echoing what I said to send to you over text, where it's like they like she needs to capitalize on this. She needs to rally every one of the businesses because in the plaza that she's in, because there's a lot of small businesses in that plaza.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, there's that Japanese restaurant that's next door to her.
mhm,
There's like the yoga studio that's there. I mean,
mhm,
there's all
right.
sorts of stuff in there.
Yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of
There's
different
that
restaurants in that
and
in that plaza.
there's that Revival House movie theater that's there too because they play a lot of like
Yeah.
old movies and stuff
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
I mean, they play some modern stuff too, but at some point you just gotta open up. Fuck it, like I'll
Right. Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Because yeah, it was her pleas where it's like someone has to do something where it's like yeah, someone does have to do something, and that someone is you. And of course if you just Angela, if you decide to open up, me and Robert, we will be there. Okay, this is,
I'll
I
be
mean,
the
this is a direct
first in
message to
line.
you.
I'll be
I don't
there.
know if you're gonna see this. Maybe I'll clip this out and put it
Yeah,
up on our Instagram. But yeah,
and
and
I'll get fucked up in
we
your
will
bar
be there.
again.
Yeah, you decide to open up and open up like fully, 100% and indoors. We'll be there. We'll rally people. We'll pack that place,
Yeah, we'll I mean, we'll do what we can. We will pack that place. We will be there.
right? I know, but it's just like at this point where it's like, at this point it's just open up. What have you got to lose? Nothing. Nothing. Well, I mean, you have everything to lose, but you have also have everything to gain by just opening up,
Yeah, it's kind of like it's what what do you have to lose? I mean, you're already on the verge of losing everything. You might as well
hmm
just take the chance and say fuck it.
right? I know. It's just like this slow like frog boil that's going on where it's like oh no like like where people are demanding that the government give back their rights. It's just like no, when has that ever happened? When has a government ever been like, you know what, we took away too many rights, let's I think we should give them back to the people.
That literally never happened.
Never. That literally never happens. All right,
And
and I think and I think this is one of the this could be a great inverse of what we were seeing in the summertime with Antifa and BLM protests. This could be the great this could be the actual peaceful protest that people can get behind, like everyday people, not just like your blue haired nose ring pan non-binary what you call it. But
yeah.
but everyone could get behind this thing because everyone is tired of these lockdowns. Everyone is tired of not being able to go out to restaurants or be with their friends or be with their families. You know,
Oh, I know.
this
I
is
know.
this
My
is
wife
this.
is going nuts because you know how she needs people to like kind of like survive, like to go out to places and be
Yeah,
out of the
no,
house.
we
She's going nuts.
yeah no something that was brought to my attention, but I know people don't necessarily like the comparison, but human beings are herd animals. We
Yeah,
need to be with each other. And I
yeah.
mean just like when I talk to my friends kids or my nieces and nephews and I say, oh, how's school, and they're like, I hate it. They hate the distant learning crap. you know
Yeah, I mean that's kind of as much as like I might not have like liked school all the time, like,
hmm
but it was a chance for me to be with my friends,
right, yeah, because
and
it got me out of the house. It got me to mingle with different kids and make friends, and and just be with people my own age.
I mean for me, I'm thankful because I have a job that hasn't closed down.
hmm
If anything, we've gotten busier.
right.
So for me, I have a routine. Like I'm going to work nearly every day,
hmm
and for me, that's great. I mean, I kind of like that. Obviously, I have a routine. Yeah, it's tiring, obviously, um, but I feel bad for my wife because she's a social butterfly. She needs to talk to people. She needs to, and sometimes I kind of wish she would take out some of that energy on other people, other than me,
or
'cause
me.
or you, because it's a little exhausting at times.
Oh
But
yeah.
she, it's trust that's like 10% of the reason why I bring you over, Andy.
I know, I get it. You need a buffer. You need a buffer. I
It's just,
get it.
and you say the things that like I think, but I can't actually say to her.
Mm.
So it's
Yes, I'm Robert's anger translator.
but I feel bad for her because there's nowhere for her to go. It's not like she can go to a coffee shop and just like hang out and just get some air,
Yeah, just
or
like people watch or whatever. Yeah,
right.
just
And it's yeah. So I really hope that like there's got to be an end to this at some point. I mean, what
yeah.
is
No,
it like?
I've been. Yeah, it's like every time I talk to someone, they go, "Oh, when do you think this is gonna be over? When do you think this is gonna what?" And my answer has not
Hey,
changed.
it's over.
My answer has not changed, and that is it's over when we decide that it's over. Not when the government says, "Okay, you guys can go back to work and you're back here your rights again." No, it's over when we decide that it's over.
exactly. Um, and I kind of don't, because friend of the podcast, Dan, he brought up, because we were talking about this before you had gotten there
Mm-hmm.
on Wednesday, but he thinks that, and I kind of do agree with him in a way, but like if we don't actually stand up and do something,
Mm-hmm.
this is what's going to end up becoming the mass and all this stuff. It's going to end up becoming what, like the safety belt laws back in '65, where
Mm-hmm.
everyone kind of like pushed against it for like a while,
Mm-hmm.
sort of, and then it's like, well, okay, and then it just became a standard thing.
Right.
If we
Yeah.
if we just keep like, going on our backs with our turtle shell, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever, it's never gonna end.
Yeah. No. Exactly. And I hate when people say new normal. It's just like you fucking cowards. You're like, what, you don't have this, you don't have the strength to, stand up. You don't have the strength to push back against this. Like, no, this cannot be the new normal. This cannot, this mass, oh, another personal thing. Like, this was, how they said, like, you shouldn't, shake people's hands anymore, and they should do the fist bump or the elbow thing. As
Fuck
so,
that.
yeah, as someone who only gets that, even before coronavirus, I fucking hated that shit.
I'm a hugger. Obviously, Andy, I give you a hug every time I see you. I do the same thing to Dan. Obviously, like I sleep in bed with my wife, so there, there's some
Yeah,
hugging
no, but
going on.
I fucking hated that shit because it only what was it? It only highlighted my difference. It's
Yeah,
like I already know that I'm different. I don't need an extra reminder. I think I've shared this story before, but like one time I was at a party, and then we are kind of in a group, and then this one person came, and he started shaking hands with everybody. It's like, oh man, how's it going? Shake hand. Oh hey man, how's it going? He got to me, and then he's like, bump it, and then
right.
the
Yeah,
and,
and for me, like maybe it helped because like we were at a. I've shared this story several times over the podcast, but maybe it helped that we were like at a dark karaoke, and like when I first met you, yeah, I went to shake your hand. I was like, what the, something's different here. Like maybe had it been light, maybe I would have done something different, but I'm kind of glad that it was the way it was,
Mhm.
because I was like, and then 10 minutes later you were making fun of like your how you were. I was like, okay, we're gonna be great. Like Andy's cool.
Yeah, because I
So
mean, as much as like it sounds like I'm complaining about being different with that anecdote, I really don't care. I mean, I'll like Robert said, like in the 10 minutes that we met, I was already making fun of myself. So it's
yeah,
it's not a terribly big thing, but it's just like you know you don't have to be a fucking asshole. You could just shake my hand. It's not all that different, and even if it's like even if you don't do it the right way, just all you have to do is shake my hand. You can
yeah,
even like you can even grab like up here, like where my wrist is. It doesn't have to be like right here. Like it could be like up here. Grab that. I don't care.
dude, I
But
high five you all the time.
yeah, I know.
I mean, you're only giving me
I
you're
mean,
only giving me a high
usually
one.
at your wife's expense, but
Yeah, I mean, you're always giving me a high one, but hey, you know what? I'll take it.
yeah. Or am I flipping you off? You don't even know.
That's true. Hey, you're laughing either way, so it works for me.
uh, but yeah, it's like fuck this new normal shit.
Agreed, man. So yeah, like I said, the legacy media is not your friend.
Hmm.
The government's not your friend.
Hmm.
You just gotta you gotta live your life, and you gotta stop. Like I said, these guys. If we stop watching the legacy media, guess what? they go out of business. They get to stop fear mongering, and maybe they take a look at themselves and like, hey, we fucked up somewhere.
I don't know, maybe
And
yeah, it's like
same thing with our government. Like, if we like if they stop doing like the things that we voted them to do,
mhm.
hey, guess what? Maybe they take a look at themselves and realize, hey, maybe we did something wrong. Maybe and we vote in new people that are going to do the things that we asked them to do, that we voted them for.
Yeah, and I mean, and even like people say like, oh, particularly with voting, they go like, oh, you have to vote no matter what. Like, no, like your non-participation is just as valid as voting.
Yeah.
It's just as valid. You're saying that he's like, no, I'm not gonna play into this shit anymore until there's someone who's like particularly in local election. I'm not talking about like presidential or national uh, election stuff, but like local stuff.
Yeah.
Like city council. Like who represents you on your city council? It's like some guy who's like who's completely diametrically opposed to me, or someone who's not necessarily diametrically opposed to me, but is I can still agree on like important matters.
That's the thing where it's like, unfortunately, California is so awful in all this, because like I don't think there was when we were the last time we voted for all that stuff, I don't think there was one uh, you know other party candidate. I mean, not just Republican, but there's like no other party candidate at all when it came to any of those races. I'm like, what? What's the point of voting then?
Right. I mean,
There's no
like
alternate
even
choice.
for I mean, recently, what's it? We got in L.A. We got a new district attorney, and he was another Democrat. Jackie Lacey, I think it was also a
Yeah.
Democrat. I mean, she was only ousted because, the leftist mob turned on her and like because like she supposedly enabled like the deaths of black people, and then what they do, and here's the ironic thing: Jackie Lacey is a black woman, and they ousted her, and who got in? A white man, or who's someone who's perceived to be white, a white man gets in there.
Oh, okay.
Right? And they constantly talk about representation, and oh, we need to get more minority voices, in positions of power. It's like the fucking district attorney was a black woman.
Oh,
How
but she
much?
wasn't really black. I
Right? I
mean,
know.
if you watch that, I don't know. Well, you've probably seen it, like that documentary, Uncle Tom. Like,
I still haven't
I,
seen it,
I
but
guarantee, I, I guarantee that all those people, none of that leftist mob considers
mhm.
them black.
Who?
Like everybody that was like that they interviewed during
Uh-huh.
that documentary,
Oh,
Uncle
oh,
Tom.
oh.
I mean, Joe Biden certainly doesn't,
All right, I
because
know. Yeah, 'cause
they
they
didn't
didn't vote
vote
for him,
for.
so yeah, they voted for Trump, so they ain't black. Um, but yeah, it's so crazy for California and Los Angeles. I mean, yeah, Jackie Lacey, a Democrat. This new guy, George Gaskin, also a Democrat, and he recently put out that he's no longer well in well depending on the circumstances, he's not gonna prosecute B&E, prostitution, a whole host of crimes. He said that he's not gonna prosecute. Then what the fuck are you even doing in that position?
And I mean, that's kind of the whole point of being a district attorney. It's like, if you're not going to prosecute crimes, that it just leads to chaos. It's another way to honestly to defund the police, because if they're not going to prosecute crimes, why are the police doing their job to begin with?
Yeah, basically, yeah, if
Because
people
honestly,
didn't
like,
believe it, or if people didn't believe it, they should believe it now. We're
it's like
and the simple truth is we're on our own.
yeah,
Go get your guns right now.
yeah. I guarantee you, if someone breaks into my house, I'm killing them. I'm sorry. I will defend my home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, it's like we traded one Democrat for another, and again, hilariously, they ousted a black woman in favor of a white man.
Love it.
A white, a white man who said all the things that they wanted to hear. I mean, I know he says that he's not gonna like prosecute all these things, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't, he could be pulling a Joe Biden where he just, he talks a big, liberal commie game, but when push comes to shove,
We'll see.
we'll see.
I mean, it's just it's gotten out of hand. I mean, I voted honestly anyone that's like because I know like our congressman that's been in like Brad Sherman, who's been in as long as I've known, like he's been in a congressman for so long. It's like, okay, what has he done for us? Nothing. So
Literally
I
nothing.
voted for someone else. I voted. The races that I knew anything about. The only ones I didn't vote for was like the community college student or the board. I was like, I don't know anything about those races, so why I can't vote for those because I'm not gonna try to affect that race if I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I'm not. I mean, I know quite a bit now because obviously politics has infected everything that I love. So I better get to know it more than I do. But even I'm not that plugged in where I know like about that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, okay, this is like complete transparency here. I actually voted for the gas can guy, but unknowingly because I didn't know that he was Democrat because on his on Ballotpedia and I was trying to find like his website or whatever. Um, he doesn't declare like what party he belongs to or if he belonged to a party. And then it wasn't
Right.
until I watched a fucking campaign commercial on TV that's like, oh, George Gaskin, proud Democrats. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like you kind of figured out when it was too late. You'd already voted for him.
Yeah. Similarly, I mean,
Fucking
I don't really
commie.
want to get. I know we're talking about election, but yeah, similar to Joe Biden. What was it? That Naomi Wolf, feminist chick.
Yeah.
She tweeted out, it's like, oh, if I knew Joe Biden was in favor for, like a 3-month mask mandate, I wouldn't have voted for him.
Well, he's been talking about that for how long now?
Yes, but if she's only knowing Naomi Wolf, I'm sure she's only been watching CNN, and
right.
I'm pretty sure that they haven't been covering that very much. I mean, and if they did, it was very cursory, where it's like, really quickly, where it's like, yeah, Joe Biden, he wants a 3-month mask mandate, but Donald Trump, oh my God, did you hear about Donald Trump?
Well, and where you knew oh fuck, we're fucked because you had after that last debate between Trump and Biden, I think the top hashtag was like, "Can I change my vote?"
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, and it came out
that was the top Google search, and that was the top hashtag on Twitter.
Yeah, and I think, and again, 30% of I think Democrat voters, they were polled, and about the whole Hunter Biden laptop thing, and and then 30% of them said, or 30% of Democrats polled said that if they knew about this, the Hunter Biden laptop stuff, then they wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden.
The only reason that story actually even was mentioned on legacy media was because of the new media that's out there that's been pushing the story.
Right. The independent media, the YouTubers who talk about news and stuff. I mean, kind of what we do, but not. But they do more in-depth stuff. We just add commentary.
We're actually going out there and they're on the front lines.
Right, they're reading the articles and they're looking up all the different sources. We're we I mean I watch all those people and that's how I know about all this stuff. But I'm not going out looking for first sources myself. What we do here is more commentary
Yeah.
and commentary and opinion.
I mean, the guy that honestly, to me, the guy that I'm so amazed by all the time is James O'Keefe with
Mm.
Project Veritas.
Mhm.
That guy is really on the front line. That guy is doing
I
a
know.
lot of
In terms of investigative journalism, yeah, he's the tip of the spear. No, he's the entire spear because he's the only one that's doing it.
yeah. That guy's nuts. I don't have the balls to do what that guy does.
Right? And interestingly, like similarly to Julian Assange, he has never had to retract anything that he's put out.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because he takes pride. It's like I have a board. It's like all these people have come after me, and
Mm-hmm.
I have all the people that have come after me for all this stuff. I have I put them on my board because I've won every single case I've been at. Like I've won all the attacks, and he puts up all the retractions and all the things that these people that have come after him have had to issue,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like
and
not
it's a
like
lot.
yeah, they can't yeah,
It's a
like
lot.
no one has ever been able to get him to retract or successfully sued him into recanting his what he said. And he has a very good strategy in how he releases information too.
Right.
Because he puts out the initial accusation, and then he waits for the denial or the disavowal, and then he releases the second uh, video,
He already
which
has the evidence before he puts out that statement
right,
his
no,
act.
no, exactly. It's a strategic release because he lets out the one with like the initial kind of like the little breadcrumb of truth, right? And then he waits for the denial or disavowal. It's like, oh, that didn't happen, or no, I didn't mean that. And then he drops a second video where it completely destroys all of that.
Yeah, he family feuds them. Is like, all right, survey says, and he shows the video evidence, or the article evidence, or whatever evidence he has,
Yeah,
and
or just
it's
like the second undercover video where it's like, oh, it's like where it's like, this person says he says he likes the color red. It's like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't like the color red. Who likes the color red? And then the second video where the person is caught on tape saying, "Man, I love red. I have read everything."
exactly. It's like you said, that guy amazes me, like what he does, um, and he's proven time and again to be a reliable source, which is why like if he's putting something out, it's pretty much like rock solid.
I mean, yeah, it's like not like the Dan Rather take it to the bank.
No, well, I don't think he would ever say that,
Right.
because
Yeah, he would never want to make that claim, because again, he would then have to back it up. But all we're saying is he does good work.
I mean, Dan Rather is a step below Brian Williams on like the deplorable media,
Really?
scale.
Even though Brian Williams basically no,
No, I'm saying
Brian
he's a
Williams
step
straight up lied
below
though.
Brian. No, I'm saying like as far as like it just because to me Brian Williams is one of the worst. I mean, that guy is such a
But
dirtbag.
so are you saying
I
that you
put Dan
put
Rather
Dan
just
Rather
one of.
above Brian Williams?
I think he's a little bit on like a little bit less on the dirtbag scale.
Dan Rather is.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I meant by what I was saying.
Right. Yeah, just seeking clarification.
Yeah, because honestly, what Brian Williams did, and the fact that he still has a job, it just
Mm-hmm.
fucking floors me. He's awful.
Yeah, I mean, those of you who forgot who Brian Williams is, he's the piece of shit that said that his helicopter was shot by an RPG or something.
Yeah, and he got he glided off of that for years.
Yeah, no, yeah, he got many a dinners from that story. it was proven that he's full of shit. That his helicopter wasn't hit, wasn't even anywhere near combat. That that like not that an errant bullet would have hit his helicopter.
And he
No.
got like a slap on the wrist. It's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, it's like, and we're supposed to trust, and we're supposed to still trust you with news. Come on,
I mean, if
come
he told me
on.
if it was sunny outside and he said it was sunny outside, I'd still go out my door and check just to make sure.
Yeah, no, and that's how I feel about watching legacy media.
Yeah.
My parents and and such, they still watch it thinking that they're getting informed, but it's like I hear them and it's just like all I like the it's weird. Like it's like the frequency of their voices, where it's like it just hurts my ears. I can't stand to listen to them.
Well, and it's funny because like people are shocked when I said like I don't like Fox News either. It's like, what? No, aren't you a conservative? It's like, yeah, but they aren't.
Yeah,
It's not a
yeah,
conservative news site. They're just as bad as CNN and NBC and all these places. Like they're just as awful.
yeah,
Like
true.
they don't, I mean, outside of maybe one host out of like all of them, like that is potentially conservative. Outside of that, like they're all, um, um, Chris Wallace is one of the worst. I can't stand that guy.
Yeah, a rhino for sure.
Yeah, and it just, it bugs me. People are shocked when I say this. Like I've been saying that for years. Fox News is not your friend. Fox News sucks. And it's funny because there's like some other stuff that I actually kind of found humorous, like where there's one podcast I was listening to where it's like the guys they're not talking about news obviously, but they're talking about something that I enjoy, but they're clearly like kind of lefties, but God, they bash CNN just as much as I do. It's like, okay, I at least as long as they're self-aware that like the news, they're like, yeah, news sucks.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's why I think that's why. Well, you can call it capricious if you want, but that's why Trump started to signal boost like Newsmax and OAN.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, yeah, because they're still relatively small, but like they I don't know. I think they do better. I think even though yes they have a conservative bent, they are they still do a better job than Fox News for sure.
yeah, like I said, I don't mind if some whether it's conservative or a liberal bent. I don't mind if they have a if they lean a certain way and if they're honest about it, that's fine. But don't tell me you're objective and then just don't talk about the news or you lie so often.
Right. Well, it's just like the CNN thing where they say like, "Oh no, we're politically neutral." No, no, no. But it's like you obviously have a left bent. It's not like MSNBC where it's like where they're out and proud with their their liberal leftism stuff. It's like that's fine. Have your liberal left bent, but at least still tell me the news. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and then
like
and then I don't know. Fox just showed everyone their true colors. It's like you should as far back as the Bill O'Reilly days, you should have been worried.
yeah, I mean, I was saying that you like because with all the stuff with like him back then, I was like, this guy like this is not a conservative news network at all.
Right. No, and then even recently, they freaking hired Donna Brazil as a contributor. Donna Brazil, former head of the Democratic National Committee or convention, whatever.
Yeah,
She was
it's
a
just
big wig. She was a big wig in the Democratic Party.
yeah, and it's ridiculous, dude. It's like I said, these guys are not your friends. They don't stand up for you. They don't care about you. Go to new media, alternate media. There's a
Independent
lot.
media.
where there's actually journalism happening.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly, it's like where people are investigating and they find evidence and then they talk about that evidence and they actually have a news story and they don't like stuff it under a mattress like the Hunter Biden story and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, if you have a small, but again, getting back to the topic, a plan. If you are a small business owner, open your business. Do it now.
Your patrons will support you.
Yes,
I guarantee it.
yes, they will. All right, your patrons will support you.
Like I said, if Pineapple opens up, Andy and I will be the first in line.
Yes, we will be there. We will be there. We will bring all our friends.
And we will put our money where our mouth is.
Right. Right. I shouldn't say this, but I will buy a round for everyone.
Same here.
All right. Yeah. I really need to talk to my friend who owns that very popular restaurant just to see how he's doing. Because I know like initially he was having some troubles where a lot of his employees wanted to be fired essentially so they can get on unemployment or whatever. But I'm pretty sure he's hurting as well.
Everyone's hurting, dude. It's
Yeah.
it's really bad. I mean, I'm gonna say, like, honestly, I've been very blessed through all this. So I don't know. I mean, I'm still struggling a little bit just because my wife costs a lot of money, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
so there's a lot of things that like uh, I think honestly, like most of my bills are like her freaking food bill. Like she eats so much, dude. Ridiculous. Anyways, that besides the point. But anyways, overall, I'm very blessed. I didn't
Right.
lose my job. I
Mm-hmm.
actually got a raise. Um, I I'm working a lot, which is great, and so I'm very thankful. I'm blessed. I have nothing to complain about. Um, but a lot of people are hurting. Like my family, even my parents, like they still have their jobs. They're still getting paid really well. They still have work, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. Um, and honestly, like I don't really think that they need their job. They're really close to just retiring
Mm-hmm.
as it is. Um, but they're still working, uh, and so I'm blessed. But a lot of people are hurting, and I feel for them. It's like, and I especially for like the businesses that I care about. Because I honestly I frequent a lot of small businesses that I genuinely go to all the time that I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Pineapple Hill being like one of them, which is what we're talking about today. That video,
Right.
and honestly, I'll be the first in line. Open up. I'll be there. I'll support you guys. I'll honestly, if I have to like overspend a little bit, like over the course of like when you guys first open, I don't care. I'll be there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There's a bunch. Yeah. Like you said, there's a bunch of small businesses that I patronage, and it's just yeah. I mean, I wish I could help them all, but I kind of do. I kind of rotate between the
Yeah.
businesses to support them, or whatever I can. But it's like, yeah, just open up fully
Yeah.
at this point, at this critical juncture.
After
You know,
250 days, after 15 days to slow the spread, it's
right?
like just fuck it.
Yeah, it's it's just like they're constantly moving. They're never gonna. They're ne- I remember when, yeah, again, a buddy of mine asked me, he's like, "Oh, when do you think this is gonna be over?" And I just told him, like, it's not gonna be over till we decide. I was like, and I don't see there being ever a circumstance where they said, okay, we're safe now, we're gonna open, because they keep constantly changing they keep shifting the goalpost. First it was 2 weeks to slow the spread, not stop the spread, slow the spread, meaning that they weren't trying to stop it, they were just trying to They were literally telling you what they were planning the entire time. Like 2 weeks to slow the spread, which means
Yeah,
to elongate the period that we will be going through this. And it
which
was
is
a
great. That's fine. I'll do that. No, not a problem.
right. Everyone did the 2 weeks because we took the government at its word that it'd only be for 2 weeks. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at all these deaths, and then we had to shut down again. And then
Yeah.
now we are opening up a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at all these cases. Like, well, okay, well, how many people have died? I think I caught the news a little bit this evening, and they have said like, oh, 800 people died in L.A. County, but it's just like, as opposed to like back in like July when like 1,000+ people were dying.
Yeah, just
I
just
think that's a
ridiculous.
win. It's like and it's like and you know what? And everyone should stop. Everyone should stop getting tested. You know why? Because that's how they're using the tests because they're finding
Yep.
it. That's how because they're finding it more, and they're still like, oh, look at all these cases. Look at all these people who have it.
Yep.
And it's another justification for them to lock us down. And and again to our leaders, like the lady who's the director of public health. She's not even a medical doctor. She has a PhD in social, something or other.
Yeah, she's not a real. She's not. I mean, she has a doctorate, but she's not like a medical doctor.
Right,
So
exactly.
in yeah, so I mean, if I
So like,
was
why was like again? So why are we listening to her?
yeah, exactly. In this case, why are we listening to her? Yeah,
Yes. In this
definitely.
case, why? Yeah, if we ever wanted like implement some sort of policy to, get more funding for school lunches or whatever for kids. Okay, well, we'll take it. We'll hear you out, but not for this.
Yeah.
I mean, she fucking looks like freaking the crypt keeper.
God, yeah, she does. She's oh,
Like, yeah,
she is.
you want to take health advice from her?
Yeah, because at first I was like, because I didn't look into that, and then I was like, let me take a look at who this person is, because I was just like, God, she is grotesque, and I found out it's like she's not even a medical doctor. What the fuck?
Right. No, and even the research that she used or the city used to justify this the outdoor dining ban, it's faulty data because they used a study that took both indoor and outdoor dining.
Yeah.
And they use that as justifications like, oh, well, this is why you can't have outdoor dining because of this test that collected data from both indoor and outdoor dining.
Right. It's just ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous. Man, I really hope that like, obviously we've been fighting against this stuff and I hope that there's a point where, we can other people fight with us and it's like we can just yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's really the thing because it's hard for one person to stand against the wave.
right.
And I kind of felt that initially. That one time I didn't. I tried not to wear a mask with my mom at Costco, and my mom
Yeah.
just like fucking my mom just like boned out on me. Like
Yeah, and
like the worker was like made me wait out, stop me and like call the manager, and the manager was trying to give me shit, but my mom just walked in. My mom just walked in. She didn't back me up, and then she like yelled at me for like, oh, why don't you wear a mask? Just wear the mask. It's like, how the hell am I supposed to fight when when my own mom doesn't? I mean, I don't mean to throw my mom under the bus, but my mom
we
didn't
love
have my back.
you. But it's I think it's the one thing is like you and I have both kind of like won my wife over too because she kind of like she occasionally freaks out a little bit because like I know her mom talks about like, oh, there's all this stuff going on, make sure you're doing this and that, and it's like, but and constantly my wife's like, I hate these fucking masks. It's like, yeah, exactly, I do too. Like, and first, like, she was like, "Oh, I hate Trump because of all this stuff," and it's like, Trump isn't the one that is making us wear the mask, and you and I both talked to her about that. It's like, oh, so it's not him doing that. It's like, yeah, exactly. And like now she's kind of like rooting for Trump to win the election. It's like, she keeps asking, like, is he gonna win? It's like, well, we don't know yet. It's kind of an uphill battle still, but they're still fighting, and it's and I even explained to her, like, kind of like on a spiritual level. It's like, listen, like, I can't, obviously we can't say this for everybody, but as far as us being Christians, like, what are we going to fear? Do we fear God or do we fear the world? This is honest. I mean, I'm not like I said, I've never said that this virus was nothing. It is kind of a it can potentially be a dangerous flu because it causes lower respiratory infection, which causes pneumonia,
Mm-hmm.
which is why it's caused as many deaths as it has. Um, but at the same time, like, what are we going to do? Are we just going to be, cower in fear over a virus, or are we going to trust in our God and in our faith that, honestly, like, and I told her, it's like, listen, if God wants us to, like, if we're going to die, it doesn't matter, like, whatever preventions we put in place, we're going to die. It's our time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's by a virus or a car accident or some horrible disease,
Yeah, or we choke on a chicken bone.
or we just something, we just have a random heart attack, or we spontaneously combust. It's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just live our life, and let it be that? Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be cautious, or that we, obviously with her, she's got a lot of weaknesses and stuff, but that doesn't mean that we can't live our life. I mean, she constantly complains, like, I wish we could do this and we could do that. It's like, yeah, me too. I think, honestly, like, let's live our life. Um, it's and that's why, like, I'm fighting, where I can. As one person, I'm honestly, it's like one person against a tidal wave. It's like, what am I gonna do? But if I have more people fighting the tidal wave with me, it makes
Right. With the whole mask thing, I understand that it is basically useless, right? And there's even
yeah,
a Danish study that came out recently saying, speaking to that point as well. But it's just like, let's just think about this, let's just play this through, all right? Like when you don't have a mask on your face, you have 100% oxygen, yes?
yeah,
And then, okay, and then put something that obstructs that oxygen from coming into your mouth or into your nostrils. So aren't you then getting less?
yeah.
And then also, if you are exhaling, aren't you trapping carbon dioxide in that mask?
Oh, absolutely.
And then because it's trapped in there, aren't you then when you then take inhale, aren't you then taking back that carbon dioxide?
Yeah,
And in your in when you do exhale in your carbon dioxide, there is bacteria and other particulates. And if it's trapped in within the mask and you're rebreathing that air, aren't you just taking it back into your body?
yeah.
So it's like, so why the masks?
Well, yeah, like I said, the logic is completely dumb.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they can't be effective. I'm just saying in the way that they're being prescribed to be used, that literally does nothing. Like in
Yeah,
a hot like in like I'm always about things making sense. I'm not gonna do something if it does. I'm not gonna do something if it doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
And right now the masks don't make sense to me. Because especially like wear them outdoors. It's like, well, wasn't the whole problem like ventilation indoors, and that's why we have to wear the mask indoors. But why do we have to wear the mask outdoors when ventilation is not a problem?
yeah,
It's again, I as long as it makes sense to me, I have no problem. I have no problems whatsoever.
Well, we kind of diverged a
Yeah,
little
no,
bit
we
from the
got
news there.
this particular topic. I
It
got
just
and even though I'm usually the one trying to keep the topic within bounds. Just this one topic, it just it gets to me, and it it just makes me go off.
yeah. It's been frustrating, to say the least, and yeah, I. But that's all I got to say on that. Like I wasn't planning on having a diatribe about about everything.
Yeah, I mean, neither am I. I was like, I was trying to keep it within bounds, but it's just topic got away from us, and you know, it's the thing that happens during conversations.
Definitely.
I'll try to do better, and try to keep the topic within range,
No,
or
well,
the
I mean,
discussion
like,
within range, but.
yeah. No,
But it's just this one topic is connected to all the things
so many.
that we
Yeah,
just talked about. So
definitely.
it's all interconnected, and I think to get a broader, more a broader, fuller understanding of our positions, we just kind of have to talk about it.
Well, at least for why don't we get to some fun, Andy? I
Yes,
need some fun.
I have achieved release. I have achieved release. So
I don't want to drink out of mourning, but I want to drink out of pleasure.
yeah, yeah. Or at least how I like to say it. Like I drink to remember, not to forget.
Bingo. Yeah.
Uh, all right, so let's get into the review for the toys that made us. And again, as mentioned at the beginning, this episode is about the Power Rangers and just how interestingly enough, the toys had a actually greater influence on the show than vice versa.
Yeah. This is an interesting episode because yeah, the toys seemed very secondary to um the real story behind this show, and
Or at least in terms
uh
of this episode, yeah, the toys kind of take a back seat as opposed to other episodes where it's like more toy
the
forward.
toys are like what made the show, and they made a show around the toys. This is a show that was already kind of set in place, and in reality actually had toys, but the American, it's more of like what happened in the American market, and um it was very interesting all around because I actually learned a lot that I kind of didn't know about Power Rangers,
Hmm.
and uh the how it came about, like, it was Power Rangers was already a show that existed in Japan called Super Sentai, and what Power Rangers became was having a they had certain parts that were the American show that they kind of in a matrimony with like the Japanese action parts and all the monsters and stuff. That was it was kind of like merged together, and uh, which at the time, we probably didn't know much better, but it was we thought that that was kind of like we didn't know. We just thought that was kind of like part of the show. But when you kind of like look at the history behind all that stuff, it's actually not all that original of idea because it had already been done. If and something that we'll be talking about like a little bit later. Down the line is Godzilla. There's the original Godzilla that came out in 1954, but then the American original that came out in '56 took utilized 60, I think, like some 60% of the footage from Godzilla, but they added their American acted scenes starring Raymond Burr and kind of just merged them together. And that's kind of what happened here with Power Rangers and how that show came into being. And so it was kind of interesting, like how that all kind of came about, and kind of the dynamics with how Chaim Saban and everyone that he had kind of gotten together, like made that work. And who would have realized that? Because it sounds, looking back and like having them tell their stories, like it sounds like an awful idea, right? It just sounds terrible. But then for whatever reason, like it was such a huge hit. Like I remember when I was there, that first episode, from the very first episode, I was there. I watched and I was like, I was blown away. I was like, this is awesome. This is cool. And I couldn't get enough. I remember I watched like the first two or three seasons, which is, that's something like 150 episodes. It's a lot. I watched the movie. I did all that stuff. Um, and yeah, it's just it's kind of it seems like a crappy concept, but it was great. It was fun. Um,
Right. I think
I don't what
one of the telling parts of it was the what is it, the focus group, or like the initial audience test, where like the kids have the dial in front in front of them. It's like
I just I
left
just
to
saw the
like.
Simpsons episode with Itchy and Scratchy with like with all the kids like turning the dial.
Right. But yeah, the way that I forget, it was one of the executives, or Chaim Saban, he tells us, or they tell the story, is like from the very first moments, like from the very first moment that the kids, the very first scene of the show, everyone, all the kids flicked their dial to the right, or to like, and just left it there for like 22 minutes.
Yeah, and that's honestly, like if I had a dial with me when I watched that first episode, I would have done the same thing.
Right. Um, yeah, but the toys were really interesting to me, because um, what was it? They were all the toys were made in Japan. The manufacturing was done in Japan, which
Yeah,
actually makes a lot of sense, because like I had mentioned previously in the Transformer episode. But yeah, I actually had a Megazord, and the
I still
quality
have mine.
yeah, rub it in. But the quality of the toy was fantastic. It wasn't just like this cheaply made thing. All the articulating parts really articulated, and the attention to detail. Like on the Red Dragon Zord, or at least the one that I had, it was top notch.
Because you had like the one that you had the one from like season like 2 or 3, I believe,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I also have. And because kind of similar to like with like Transformers, there was the first season which I have like the Megazord. The only thing I don't have is the freaking Dragon Zord, which kind of pisses me off. I really wanted that
Mm.
one so bad. I never find it. Maybe I'll buy it one day just to say like I finally got it.
I know. Maybe it's on eBay.
But I probably can find it on eBay. I never found that one. But then there was the movie, and then there was the second season, which is like it's kind of like it's split them up. I think maybe I have that. Maybe I'm thinking wrong, because I remember there was a whole like special from like the switch from like the old like Power Rangers into like the new style, like, but it had the same characters, but they ended up switching because they for like the new like enemy that they were facing.
Mm.
Um, and it was actually done really well, and in reality is because they ran out of ways to utilize the old footage from from Super Sentai, and from that season that they were using, and they moved into the newer season of Super Sentai, but utilized the same characters, and they actually did it very well. It was very seamless.
Right. Yeah, that was the season where like they blew up the command center, and yeah,
Right?
they
Yeah.
And then they got the new powers, which was like the turbo powers or something.
Bingo,
Um,
yeah. And that was like
I actually know a little bit about that because beyond what was mentioned in the Toys That Made Us documentary, but that season where they actually were one of the greatest contributions to Power Rangers from the American side was the creation of a wholly original character, and that was Lord Zed.
that's correct, yeah.
Lord Zed was a completely unique and original creation from the American side, um, and actually, I think Saban Entertainment um, they tapped the production company that made Power Rangers in Japan and had them actually film uh, new uh, new scenes for them with the original costumes.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so Saban Entertainment tapped the studio that made Power Rangers like, hey, could you maybe use like the Dragon Zord, but then have this bad guy that's in like the newest uh, Power Rangers iteration. Like, thanks, okay. And then so Japan did that, and then so they sent America, and so they would film the like so the bad guys, the monsters that they used in the one that was after the Zoo Rangers, which was the one with the
Yeah,
dinosaurs. Uh,
Jew Ranger, yeah.
yeah. They would take the monsters that they use in the next iteration of Power Rangers, but then they still had them fight like the Dragon Zord, which the American version they brought back the Green Ranger in a limited capacity, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
all and so they created like these bespoke scenes for them,
Yep.
which I think it was pretty amazing. It's like if it was I think it was any other series or any other time, they would, the Japanese studio would have told the American studio, yeah, go kick rocks. We're not gonna do more work for you guys.
Yeah, and it's like
Like no
they
custom orders, you
yeah.
know.
It was it's like I said, when you kind of like when you're looking at it from the outside in, it's like this is the dumbest thing ever. But then you see the results and it's like this is they did something great. And
Yeah, and I
I don't
mean
know.
it's a bit of genius for them to like reboot the series every year. Because
Yeah,
that was the thing. Because that was yeah. Because they kept running out of material uh, from the original series, and so that's why they had to ask for these custom shots for them to be reused, and it's like it's hard for and then they but then like the cost kind of went up because then the American production would start to have to shooting their own original stuff and try
right.
to make it work, but it's like oh, and I got it, just made so much more sense. It's like oh, new characters, new vehicles, new Zords, new everything. So like
And that,
every year we could keep pumping out these toys.
and for the toy market, that's great news because they don't have to worry as much. And I was telling you before we started filming the for the live stream is like I and I'm stupid. I wish I had not done this, but my grandparents had actually gotten me a set of what I didn't realize it at the time was because I they had given me a Power Rangers set, but it was not from the one that we know and love. It was actually a Super Sentai like kit from like I think like one of the other earlier seasons. And I thought it was just like, oh, it's a Japanese knockoff or something. I didn't know anything. Like I was a dumb kid. What do I know?
Mhm.
And I look thinking back, it's like that's actually worth money now. I think, and I gave it away. I'm such a fucking idiot. Like I'm so mad at myself. Like because once I found out, I was like, wait. There's this whole series from Japan called Super Sentai that which I would love to watch. To be honest, like the actual Japanese Super Sentai, minus like what we have for the Power Rangers, just to see the difference. I would love to see like but yeah, I was
I
like,
actually
man,
know. Well, in one of the seasons, they actually do a crossover, or not crossover, but they do kind of like a meta thing where the American Power Rangers watch an episode of the Japanese version Power Rangers, and
No
so
shit.
yeah, it's one of the later seasons. I think it's the one where where actually Tommy comes back and becomes a ranger
Oh,
again.
you're right. Okay,
I
yeah,
forget
I
I
remember
forget what season that was,
that.
but that was the season where yeah, like the American Power Rangers watch an episode of like the Japanese uh, Power Rangers and like for like I'm sure it was like I believe it was for some like sort of like cultural project for like one of the rangers at school. Um, but also just to go to your point about how you wish you could just watch the Japanese version of Super Sentai. That's actually how I was initially introduced to Power Rangers because back in the day, back before Netflix or Hulu and streaming services in general, there was actually a pretty big business for video rentals of foreign television programs. Um, my parents every week we go to the video store, owned by Koreans, and they'd have a library of soap operas and dramas and television programs from Korea that they put on videotape, which they then let rent it out to the Korean population here in where I live, and that was my first exposure to Power Rangers or Super Sentai. Uh, it was through it was through those video stores because I guess Super Sentai made it to Korea as well, and so I got to watch the Japanese Super Sentai, but just dubbed in Korean.
Okay. Oh, all right. Interesting. Okay. Like I said, I would love if, like I said, if they had it like dubbed in like or not dubbed, but like subtitled in like English. I would
Hmm.
love to watch like an old like Super Sentai, like because it's kind of like their Doctor Who in a lot of ways because it's been running for a long time. Like because the iteration of Power Rangers that we got that was like the 15th season of Super Sentai.
Right, yeah, because like the very first iteration of Super Sentai was back in like I think the late '70s.
Yeah, which I would love to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, and it wasn't, yeah, and it wasn't as like the uniforms weren't as uniform or because because usually you have like the same bodysuit but just in different colors and like maybe like a different kind of helmet.
Yeah.
The very first Super Sentai, it was pretty wild because of that like um, the uniforms were kind of like uniform, but then they had like all like these really weird colors and like the helmets were very bulbous. I mean, just given the time frame that
Right.
it
Right.
first came out, but they were very bulbous. They weren't as as slick and as streamlined as we get in our version of Power Rangers from that 15th season of Super Sentai.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah, like just the little clips that I see from like documentaries, like even from this documentary, and other documentaries chronicling Super Sentai and Power Rangers. Yeah, it's kind of rough. But even
Yeah.
like that whole, but the idea of like transforming like teenagers isn't even wholly unique to Super Sentai because, as chronicled in this episode of the docu series, you know, initially started off with a hero called Henshin Rider, I believe it is,
Yeah.
which Henshin in Japanese means transform. Um,
Right.
and but it was just one guy. It was just one person. And then they had great success with the toy line because they had like the belt that the hero wore to transform. But again, it was only one guy, so they only created one figurine. So they limited themselves. So again, they limited themselves in growth potential, in profit potential, and so that's when they decided to make it a team of heroes. So that way you
Right.
could you'd have to collect like the whole set. So then therefore more money.
which I did.
which they did, which they did, and that's how we got Super Sentai.
Yeah, which is great. And like I said, that it's a show from that I there's very like there's a few like shows for like my childhood that like I love that I watched. Like I don't Power Rangers was one of them. Like I even my mom when made me the White Ranger costume. Like and I even had like it was legit.
Hmm.
Like I had like the shoulder piece.
Hmm.
I had the bodysuit. I had a custom made helmet too that was painted. It wasn't a mask. It was the actual helmet too. So it was legit.
To be an only child, to know that kind
Uh,
of love.
yeah, I it's one of those things that like I didn't appreciate as a kid, but like I look back as like, dude, my mom was awesome. Like making me all those great like Halloween costumes.
Mhm.
Like I had a lot of great Halloween costumes as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it's like to be an only child, but I am the only son in my immediate family, so I do,
Close enough.
yeah, I do know a very special kind of love, being the only
Not
son.
only not only are you the baby, but you're the only son. So you're close enough. Like
Yeah,
you kind of are an only child in a way.
yeah, I'm right there. I'm maybe like a degree off, maybe like just maybe like a half a step back from only child.
You're part of the group. I'll allow it, Andy. You're part of the group. Um,
But yeah, yeah. One of the other interesting things about this thing is how the actually the Bandai, the toy company that made all the toys,
known
they
for
actually,
chalk.
well, in the American branch of Bandai was, yeah, they were more known for chalk as opposed to action figures. And it wasn't until Power Rangers came along that they got their seat at the table, as it were, or as out is described in the docuseries. But interestingly enough, the toy company Bandai actually made the props for the show.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
And so that's why a lot of the toys looked so accurate to the TV show. It's just they just took the molds that they made for like the TV, or yeah, they just
The
whatever they
TV show.
made for the
Yeah,
TV show, they just applied it to the toys, and it's like boom,
yeah.
there you go. Why do the work twice?
Like I said, I have the action figures like of the Power Rangers. I have the ones that they were talking about where like they have the head flipper ones.
I did too. I had the Red Ranger.
I had them all actually.
Lucky bastard. See, that's how. See, that's why I am not exactly an only child, because I still had limitations.
But so I had them all. Uh, and I don't know if I have all of them now. I still have, like I said, I kept some of the stuff that I really liked. What obviously was like the Megazord, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but I had all of the Power Rangers, like the accessories, and it's like, and you look at it, it's like, damn, dude, like this is the actor, like this is the guy that plays, the Red Ranger
Right. Yeah.
or
They
the
model. Yeah.
Yellow
The
Ranger.
action. The heads. They modeled after the actual actors.
And it's like it looks like them. It's like, man, I feel like I'm playing an episode of I'm playing these with these action figures, but I feel like I'm creating an episode myself. It's
Right.
kind of the idea of like, what what that one toy maker from the Star Wars episode was talking about. It's like, I come home and like I'm in the universe of these characters and I'm creating my own story.
Hmm.
That's why like these toys, like, yeah, people like they look at this stuff and they're like, I have like I have my like my Transformers and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, that's just baby stuff. It's like, no, it's not. Yeah, it is in a way, but it was something so much more than that. Like
Hmm.
this is how kids like, you know, I I had to have an imagination. I had to, and being an only child, like, that's what I had. I didn't always have like people over like playing with me, so I had to come up with stuff, and I was never bored. I had my books, I had my action figures, I had all this stuff, and I was able to have like a great imagination and like create these universes in my head. And yeah, I'm so grateful for like all the stuff that I did have. I was very lucky. I didn't have everything I wanted, but now like in this digital age where there's so many things that like I kind of wished I had as a kid. I'm kind of glad I didn't because it forced me to use my imagination and have ingenuity. And now when I have all this stuff that's at my fingertips, like I can appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's kind of funny because yeah, I kind of bashing my wife on this one, but like it's she's younger than me, so she's from a generation like her background, like she doesn't have that ingenuity or that imagination. She's kind of like that generation where it's like, oh, if it's not like right in front of me, like I don't care.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, you see that too, right? I mean,
no,
obviously,
I get it. I get it. I get it. But yeah, I feel bad for kids nowadays because particularly because there's
always suck.
there's no longer any shared uh, cultural touchstones. You
Mm-mm.
know, because like because what was it like 5 years ago was the last time that they had Saturday morning cartoons. There
That's
isn't
right.
there isn't that shared experience of waking up early, butt crack early in the morning, turning on the TV, and then pouring yourself a big bowl of sugary cereal and just you know you know dissolving your brain for 3 hours, just watching
Oh, that's great.
like Scooby Doo or GI Joe or Thundercats or or what Power Rangers or what have you. There's no longer that shared cultural like experience. Now like kids watch YouTube videos of like Ryan's toy review or
Uh,
or other like toy unboxings, um, or whatever other thing that's on like the YouTube like kids app, or whatever content that's out there for kids. But it's like yeah, it's like but not every kid watches Ryan's toy review or what have you. And so I think like the very last vestiges of that is like or at least what I remember with my own experience with my own nieces and nephews was like Paw Patrol.
yeah, and even that, I'm like, I don't know, because the toy. Maybe it's nostalgia a little bit, but like I feel like the cartoons that we watched, Andy. Yeah, obviously they were geared towards kids, but
And
honestly,
selling
like
toys.
and selling toys, yeah, no doubt.
Mhm.
But there's still like a little bit like where us as adults we go back and we can watch them. It's like wow, there's actually some depth to like what they're talking about. It's not
Mhm.
just some. It's actually a good show. It's
Right.
not. It's not just mindless like whatever.
Mhm.
Because that's to me that's like a lot of the cartoons now. It's like it's a lot of like mindless drivel.
Well, and it's also really quick. It's cartoons today are designed for short attention spans. I mean, I remember watching SpongeBob SquarePants, and it's like it kind of like hurt my brain a little bit because it's like because
I don't.
it went by so fast. I was like, what's going on? Oh, this is happening now. What? It's like it hurt. It kind of hurt my brain to try to keep up with it.
I'll say this like not to denigrate SpongeBob, but I don't really like it. That's kind of like where when I kind of checked out on some cartoons
Hmm.
because to me it didn't like obviously it was obviously uber popular and it made a lot of people a lot of money and a lot of people enjoyed it. Awesome. And, I'm all for it, but I'm not one that liked it. I didn't like it at all.
Okay.
Um, and I look back to, like, the cartoons that I watched, like, even stuff like, some of the Disney stuff, like, DuckTales and, stuff like
Right.
that.
Darkwing
But even
Duck,
then,
Winnie
like
the Pooh.
yeah, but and even, like, the WB stuff, like Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, I go back and, like, or, Looney Tune Tiny Toon Adventures. I look back and I watch those now, it's like, dude, these shows are funnier now than when I was a kid. I get the references, like, because there was so much depth to them.
Yeah, no, I'm. It's kind of like with Simpsons. A lot. I'd watch older episodes, and then be laughing my head off because I finally got the joke because I was old enough to get the reference, or
You're right. Yeah.
and even in
I mean,
Animaniacs, there was there are some jokes that kind of went over my 9-year-old head, but when I watched them a little bit later on reruns on like Cartoon Network or whatever, as a more mature adolescent, I see the same joke and again I laugh my head off. It's like, that's what that joke was talking about, or I finally get the joke.
well, especially too because, man, Pinky and the Brain, they constantly like they'd make all these Jimmy
Oh
Hoffa
man,
jokes.
yeah, that show was so smart. Like no one,
That show like is
nobody gives them credit, but that cartoon was so smart.
that was a great spin-off from Animaniacs,
Yeah.
and that show like was so cerebral. Where I was like, damn, dude, this is comic genius. This is
Hmm.
great, and um. Hell, I mean, even like Batman the animated series or like Superman Adventures and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I go
Oh
back and like
yeah.
I can still enjoy those cartoons because there's so much depth to them. Like, and to this day, Kevin Conroy is my Batman. Same as like the voice of the guy who did like Superman. Like that's those are
Yeah, Tim Daly.
yeah, Tim Daly. Yeah, I forgot his name. Thank you. I mean that was my Superman outside
Mm-hmm.
of um shit. What's his name? Drawing a blank, but like from the Adventures of Lois and Clark. Uh,
Dean Cain.
Dean Cain, yeah, he was my he was my live action Superman for a long time. Um,
Not a bad live action Superman.
like I said, but it's that was those are great animated cartoons. Yeah, they were built for kids, but they were serious. They have depth to them. They're gonna stand the test of time and actually be relevant to people like that love comics and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was a teenager and as a young man, my mom would always say, "Why are you still watching cartoons?" And it's because cartoons, because I mean, I think she still thought of me as as a small child, and back when I used to watch the kiddie cartoons, but I was watching very even though they were cartoons, and yes, it was like Batman. It was they, like you said, they told very good stories. They had a lot of depth to the story. It wasn't just like flashbang, spark, rainbow colors. They
No,
were
it was
they were
not.
actually they were actually telling good stories. I mean,
All those episodes were
one of
drawn
the
on like a
one of my favorite cartoons from my childhood is Gargoyles.
dude.
Put out by
It's all,
Disney.
yeah,
Put out by Disney, and it was dark. It was so dark, but it told a really good story.
it did.
And it dealt with a lot of serious issues. There was that one episode where one of the gargoyles accidentally shoots the police woman friend that they have, by accident, and it's just and it kind of talks about the dangers of gun violence and stuff. And I mean, I see now it's kind of a little bit propaganda y, but it was still a great episode.
It was. It really was.
And it made it and I mean now if you look at it a little bit more, less propaganda, it's telling you the importance of gun safety, if anything, trigger discipline, and all that stuff.
Yeah, but this episode it brought back a lot of memories, and I always love learning more about the things that I love,
Hmm.
especially when I was a kid. And honestly, like it made me appreciate more of like that it happened, because honestly, like it could very easily could have been just like this is stupid. We're not gonna do this, but they did it.
Well, actually,
And
yeah, like a lot of it, like yeah, early on, they faced a lot of pushback to Power Rangers, and even the executive lady, even she felt, even she received some pushback from it. It's like this
yeah,
is, from her bosses, like this is the stupidest thing I ever saw, and like she, and the I think it was like that Fox executive lady. She put it all on the line where like the boss was like, "All right, I'll give you money to make this pilot episode, but if it fails, you're gone." So she
yeah.
literally put her job on the line for Power Rangers.
But
Cause
she
she,
believed in it. And she
yeah,
went
because she
with it.
believed in it. Exactly.
So it kind of goes back to what we were saying. Is like it's just this is like I said, this stuff is awesome.
Hmm.
It's kind of like what we're talking about. Like people putting their money where their mouth is and standing up for what they believe in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and honestly, I recommend watching the episode if you love Power Rangers. And uh, maybe next week I'll bring some of my toys back and show everyone. But
Just rub it in my
yeah,
face, you dick.
I'll let you play with you, Andy.
Actually, yeah. I mean, my love for Power Rangers is so deep. I have a Power Ranger ringtone.
Oh, that's all right. That's awesome. See, I don't have that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I occasionally hear people. I occasionally hear people with like their text messages, and I hear that do 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 do, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
That's my text message. That's my text message ringtone.
oh, that's great.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. Can I? Hold on. Let me see if I could get it to play. Yeah. Oh yeah. Here it goes. Here's the sound.
Awesome.
Yeah. So whenever I get a text message, that's my ringtone. And I used to be, I used to make a joke where that went off, and it's like, oh, excuse me, I got, I act like real shifty or like skittish, like, oh, excuse me, I gotta take care of some non-Power Ranger related business.
Yeah. Well, all right. Why don't we get into our last section? I'll let you, unless you have anything else to talk about Power Rangers.
No, that's it.
All right. Well, why don't you give the premise of the movie while I take care of some Power Ranger related business?
All right, all right.
Seen me in the same room as a Power Ranger,
I know,
so
right? It's just like, yeah, it's like I've seen, Spider-Man, and I've seen Peter Parker, but I've never seen them in the same room together. All right. Yeah. Let me just give everyone a synopsis here. But as you know, we will be discussing The Prestige, one of the Nolan movies that escaped Robert's attention at the time. But yeah, a period thriller set in Edwardian London, where partners, partners until the tragic death of an assistant during a show, feud bitterly after one of them performs the ultimate magic trick, teleportation. His rival tries desperately to uncover the secret of his routine, experimenting with dangerous new science as his quest takes him to the brink of insanity and jeopardizes the lives of everyone around the pair. Now is Robert back? Not yet. Um, yeah, this I always loved the movie Prestige. It was it was one of those great stories that were told. It's like it's actually telling like a lot of different stories. Kind of like because in the opening scene it talks about the different stages of a magic trick, where you have the pledge, kind of like the basic magic trick where it's just like maybe like card trick or something to do something to do like any with an ordinary object, and then you have was it the pledge, um, the turn, and then the prestige. The turn is when you do something a little bit more grandiose, where you might take something away, but then you bring it back. And the prestige is something that you just like that just blows your mind essentially. And I think uh, this movie is all of it could easily be those three parts could easily be applied to say a movie, like the beginning, middle, and end of a movie.
That's very true. Yeah, and like I said, I have no idea how this like slipped my view. It's probably like how Andy described it like earlier on, that it was because it came out like, about around the same time as The Illusionist, which is a movie I watched, and this is definitely better than The Illusionist. And like I said, it was I think it was one of those things where like we both had like we had a choice between the two, and I think we went The Illusionist, not and because normally around that time the people that I watch movies with, mainly the person I watch a movie with is my friend Peter, who
Uh-huh.
God, we watched so many movies together when we were younger, and we're both big, huge Christopher Nolan fans. He's the one that got me to Christopher Nolan movies. And yeah, I don't know how I missed this one, and how like maybe he missed it too. I'm hoping he kind of missed it too, and maybe like we can watch it together. Um, but this is a fantastic movie. I mean, it has everything that it has a lot of that Christopher Nolan. Um, he deals with like time and space. That's kind of like his like those are kind of like the main themes of his movies, and he manipulates time and space within his movies, and that comes into play here. And but it also has a lot of other like themes in it as well. It deals with like a lot of jealousy and anxiety and angst and
Obsession.
obsession. Yeah, it's and you have these two rivals that it ends up becoming a very deadly rivalry, where had just one of them said like, you know what, it's really not worth it, like I'm just gonna let it go, and then the movie would have ended, the the struggle would have ended. And
Right. I mean, particularly in the case of Borden, when he, because like the whole like their whole like him and the character of Angier's, their whole falling out is due to Angier's wife's death, who is also an assistant in the magic act that they're a part of as well, and um, if Borden had taken Angier's into his confidence, and told him about his little secret, then maybe this could have been avoided. Um, Maybe it could have been diffused. Um, but again, it would have not made for a very good movie. It would have just ended right there.
yeah, and the and here's something I've been thinking about too, like the last couple of days, and this is something I want to like. This is a movie that you can watch over and over again and like learn
Oh
new
yeah,
things.
absolutely.
There, this is not a movie you watch once. And
No.
along with a lot of Christopher Nolan movies, you can't watch them just once because there's so much more to gain from watching them multiple times, which is what I love about them. And particularly like because there was we don't necessarily find this out towards the end of the movie, but Borden he has a twin, and it's talking about like the
Spoiler
idea
alert.
of yeah. Oh, whoops, sorry. It's been what 2006 was when this movie came out, so you've had plenty of
Yeah,
time to watch it.
yeah. Not necessarily
Um,
the understood amount of time uh, for a spoiler warning, but long enough to where it's like you should have watched this movie.
um, and so it makes me wonder because like there was all there's a scene where their I guess like their mentor Cutter sends Angiers and Borden to watch this Asian magician do his trick and figure out what's going on, how he's doing his magic trick.
Right. Because there's a oh yeah well backstory. The the trick is that here's like this little tiny Chinese man, and he like waves like a scarf in front of him, like a pretty big scarf in front of him, and then all of a sudden a goldfish bowl appears, like a bowl, like a gigantic glass bowl filled with water and a goldfish. And it's like how does he do this? And
Right.
we'll take it from there, Robert.
And so Andrews cannot figure it out. He's like, how the fuck is this guy doing this? And he's thinking all these different ways. And like after the show, you see him like they're outside and they see the magician walking to his carriage, and Borden is saying, "That's the act right there." Him being a decrepit old man. The thing is, he's actually he has he's been carrying that stuff in like between his legs for his entire like career. Like that's the act right there. He's not a decrepit old man, but he's made it look like he is, and that's where it is. And what Borden is saying is that the
Well, yeah, like
magician,
Angiers, he's like when Borden, makes this revelation or tells this revelation to Angiers, Angiers kind of like scoffs at it and it's like, oh, I can never, I can't even imagine someone doing that for, for 20 years or for however long this Chinese magician has been doing that trick. I was like, yeah, I
yeah,
couldn't imagine some, putting, keeping an act up like that for that long. And then, to which, Borden kind of retorts back was like, "Oh, well, it takes great discipline."
yeah, and well, and the reality is because Borden was doing just that with himself, because the entire course of the movie he has a twin, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't realize that up until like towards the end of the movie. And when it comes to the idea of Angier's wife, like who was it that tied that knot?
Right.
Was it Borden or was it his twin?
Mm-hmm.
And because and that's the thing that I've been like kind of thinking about, like who was it that actually tied that knot?
Right. And yeah, and it's like when they have the confrontation at Angier's wife's funeral, and he's constantly asking him, "Oh, which knot did you tie?" Because previously they're having this discussion about, um, Borden brings up a better knot to tie for the trick because it would make it more exciting, or add a layer of difficulty that will spice up the trick a little bit more. To which
Right.
again, their mentor Cutter was like, "No, you can't because
That's
the
not a wet
knot,
knot.
the knot that Borden was proposing is not a wet knot, where it's like once that rope is in water, it'll swell up and you like and the girl, the assistant, Angier's wife, wouldn't be able to untie it." He constantly, but he protests and says, "No, it would work. It is a wet, it is a wet knot. It'll work fine." And it wasn't until they actually, he actually does it, um, which is interesting because in my many viewings of it, I never noticed this, but I mean, I don't know, I might be wrong, but the girl Julia, the wife of Angier, she kind of gives Borden like a knowing nod, because he was
Just like, yeah,
initially
do it.
because he was initially tying her wrists, But then like something happens where it's like, oh no, I did it wrong, and then she kind of gives them like a knowing look. It's like, yeah, go for it. But I could be misconstruing that.
No, no, I saw that too.
Right. I mean, yeah, I know you saw it too. But maybe but I could be also be just misconstruing that where she's just giving the nod where it's like come on, hurry up. Um, but it's interesting to see. I think it's what I said initially, where it's like yeah, she gave him a knowing nod because because the conversation that they had prior, it's like yeah about the knots, so it's like I think I really do think she gave the nod to go ahead to try that other knot that Borden initially
Yeah,
proposed. Um, but yeah, but to get back to the funeral scene, and then Angier's asking him, like, which knot did you use? And he answers him, like, I don't know. And again, in my first viewing, I was like, maybe he was just like so traumatized he really doesn't remember. Uh, but then again, knowing what I knew at the end of the movie, where it's like his twin, it's like, oh, so maybe he doesn't know. Maybe the Borden that showed up to pay his respects wasn't the Borden that tied the knot.
exactly, and that's exactly what my thinking was too. It's like maybe he really didn't. The person that showed up that cared, which I don't know which one it was. Um, because I don't know which of the two was more of the caring twin. Because one of them was very callous, and one of
Right.
them actually seemed like he was very caring, and we really don't know which one that was.
Hmm. Right. Maybe the twin was like the more kind of a cocky one, and that's why and the twin was the one that um, proposed the other knot, and then finally he got
Right.
his chance to do it, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna take it. Similarly, what we find out that what we find out that Borden had like uh, this helper, this assistant, in the person of I forget. It starts with an F. Um,
Fallon?
Fallon. Yeah, yeah, Fallon. Um, and they would actually take turns being that person. Um,
Yeah.
and the night that Borden gets framed for Angier's murder, I think was actually the brother.
Yeah.
Um, and he was actually more of like the obsessed type, um, which kind of lends credence to the end when Fallon and Borden are talking right before Borden is taken away to be executed. He said like, "Oh, you were right. I should have let it go," um, meaning that uh, the Borden that we knew was the one that was like telling him, "Hey, let it go. It's not worth it." Um, but his brother, the more hot-headed one, was like, "No, no, I have to find out."
Yeah. And like I said, there's so many layers to this movie. The idea, like Andrews, like could at any time could have just said like, "Listen, I'm doing my own thing," and not have been so obsessed with what Borden was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that would have been it. And but his obsession is what really drove him to his untimely end in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways. And honestly, there's a lot of tragedy in this movie. This is a Greek tragedy in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways because the characters are just cannot get out of their own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interestingly, no, though, it's even though Borden is personified by these two brothers who who represent different parts of who exemplify different characteristics. like Borden is like the one who's more, the Borden who marries Sarah and has and as a father, he's more caring, he's more empathetic, but the brother Borden, he displays characteristics of obsession and anger, which which interestingly enough, Angier has represents in one person, because he has that he had that side of him where he was like the loving, nurturing type because he was married, he had a wife, um, but he also similarly mirrored the brother Borden, because because he was obsessed with how Borden did his trick.
Right.
So they're interestingly enough, it's interesting like it was like kind of like a three-way mirror
Yeah, in a lot of ways it
in a
was.
lot of ways.
Um, the other thing that I found interesting about that movie, because what ends up becoming like the movie kind of centers around this one particular trick called the transported man, and Borden, is the one that supposedly created this trick. That like this is the one that he's going to be known for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and we'd been hinted, the entire movie about how he had been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The girl that he married asked him, like, constantly asked him, like, "Do you love me?" And he would say, "Yeah, of course I love you." It's like, oh, I feel like you mean it today. There's a lot of days where you
Right,
don't.
there were a lot of hints in this movie about the duality of the Borden character.
Right. And you're like thinking like, man, like, is it just because he's like, there's days where like he's so obsessed, like he doesn't even care about his wife, and like they kind of make him out to be a huge dick. And the thing is, like, one of them was the one Borden was a dick,
Right, because he
but
wasn't
not
in love with Sarah.
right. But the one that was in love with Sarah was actually a very generous, kind person,
Mm-hmm.
and he created this trick called the transported man, where he would go in one closet and appear out the other one, and which is a great trick. But and they're thinking like, oh, how is he doing it? And Cutter, he's like he's using a double. It's like and Andrews tries to like recreate it, and he finds his own double and essentially recreates the trick exactly like Borden had been doing it, but he was just doing it in a much better way.
Mm-hmm.
It was much more dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Right, it was flashier.
It was flashier. He was doing it better. But he's like, fuck, no, he's not doing it. I'm not. He's doing something different, and he
Right,
was
no, like yeah,
so
it's like yeah, he couldn't accept the simple truth of it. That he's like, no, 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 that it can't be that simple. There has to be something more to it.
he was giving Borden much more credit than than he deserved,
Mm-hmm.
and it drove him into insanity in a lot of ways. He drove away his assistant slash like new lover.
Mm-hmm.
He he ended up losing losing the ability to walk correctly because he ended up being uh,
Yeah, well, he broke his leg, which basically
caused by Borden. Yeah, but it crippled him.
yeah, crippled him.
And when he finally got a hold of the because he was using his assistant slash lover as like kind of like a spy, and she ended up giving him this journal of his that required him to decipher the cipher um, that
Oh yeah,
Borden.
the journal was in code, and yeah, he spent like his entire all his time deciphering the journal. Um, just being just like being like really crazed about it.
And it led him over into Colorado Springs, which is where Nikola Tesla was. And Tesla, even like when he went to Tesla and finally talked to him, it's like, yeah, I built a machine for another guy, but you don't want me to build this machine. Like it's very dangerous. There's a lot of problems with it. And he's like, I don't care what it costs. Like you're gonna build me this machine. Very well. And so we're led to believe that Borden also had Nikola Tesla build him something, but I don't think he actually ever built him anything. Because based off the
No,
knowledge
yeah,
we have, I think it was all just a ploy.
right, because he was doing the because Borden was doing the transported man uh, before he got like kind of famous for it, um, and so and he in his act never didn't start implementing like big theatrical set pieces until Angier's former lover slash assistant started to come and work for him.
That's right, yeah. But regardless, Tesla built Andrews' machine, and God knows how much money Andrews actually spent on that thing.
Right.
And we're led to believe like, oh, it has all this stuff, but like, we just like, eventually they're doing testing on this guy on Andrew's top hat, and it's like, oh, nothing's happening. It's just like a lot of like, it looks cool, but it's not doing anything.
Yeah, a lot of sparks, a lot of Tesla coils. I mean,
Yeah,
Nikola Tesla, so Tesla coils. Um,
yeah, but nothing's happening. It's like, okay, well, this sucks. But then come to find out, they do an experiment on a living specimen. I think they put a cat in there,
mhm.
and then this is where the twist of the movie comes in. It's like, well, nothing happens to the cat. It's like, well, this sucked. What did I waste my money on? Andrew, that's what Andrew said. And he goes outside and like it start, kind of like, stomps outside, and he's like, and then he sees the cat,
Right.
and it's
He
like,
sees like
what?
all these top hats.
Yeah, and it's like, what the fuck? And they all realize like, oh wait, this machine worked.
Yeah,
And it
just
was then
not in the way. It's not in the way that they thought it was.
right, and they essentially like created, yeah, they created all these like clones and transported them.
Hmm.
Um, maybe they weren't clones. Maybe they actually were like the real thing. They were just transported in through a different time reality. Who knows? Um,
Right, because because Tesla didn't necessarily say that. He didn't know that it was like cloning, and that might just been a byproduct or unforeseen side effect. But maybe, yeah, maybe he was just trying to create, or maybe like yeah, he was trying to create a time transporter where it's like,
yeah,
oh, so instead of uh, Angers being transported physically uh, in space to like a different place, he was being sent there in time. So like from the time that the machine turns on to and it transports them to like 5 seconds after.
right. And they, in a sense, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Looper is in a little bit. It could potentially be like that, where it's actually the object is traveling in time and appears in another place, because
Hmm.
obviously two things can't appear in the same place at the same time.
Right. Like they can't exist in the same place,
Yeah,
in the same
exactly.
space. Yeah. It's kind of like the theory behind transporters in Star Trek, where the one of the theories is um, it's not you that's being transported. It's your physical being is scanned, and then the information is sent up to the ship, and then you're basically a copy of yourself. It's not the original, but it's a copy that comes out the other
Yeah.
side. And so yeah, maybe that's kind of what's going on with this machine. But then to which we find out that Angier was actually killing his copies off.
Yep.
Like every time he did the trick, it was like there, he had it arranged so there's a trap door, and like whoever was in the machine, after it went off, like the person, the copy standing there would be, dropped into a tank and then drowned.
Yeah, and that was kind of like where, where that was kind of the trick in a lot of ways. It was so. Yeah, this movie has so much depth to it. Like I feel like we're really only scratching the surface of this movie. Like I'm definitely gonna watch this like again and again and again. And I know, just kind of like my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, Memento, which we'll definitely talk about at some point because I love that movie to death. It's
Mm-hmm.
my second favorite movie of all time. Um, but this is right up there. This is Memento esque in a lot of ways. We Andy will definitely watch this movie again.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this movie so many times, like if I happen to be watching TV and I'm like and I'm channel surfing and I see that it's on, I will stop and watch, and I'll stop whatever I'm doing
Oh
and
yeah,
I'll watch it. It's a
this
good
is
movie.
definitely on the list of that for me.
Mhm. It's a really good movie, and it's one of those head scratchers, and it's it's kind of it's historical fiction. It's because there were magicians. The two main characters, they were based on actual magicians from that time period.
Yeah, from the 19th century.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, this so it's all very fascinating.
I think this was the best performance I've seen Hugh Jackman in anything I've seen of him. And he's a great actor. Like I loved him in Logan. I think he was great there.
Mhm.
He's done a lot of other stuff where he's been really great in, but this is to me one of his greatest performances.
Yeah, it's one of his better performances. I agree.
Yeah, I mean Christian Bale is always great.
Mhm.
I'm a big Christian Bale fan. I think he's a great actor. The guy goes all in on his performances, um, to the point where like it even affects his health.
Mhm.
Which is, hey, you know what? That's what he maybe goes above and beyond like what actors are supposed to do, but I give him credit for that. I think he was great in this. Michael Caine is always awesome. I love him in pretty much everything he's been in.
Mhm.
Um, hell, even David Bowie as Tesla was pretty good. Andy Serkis, like not in some,
Yeah,
you know,
not in a mocap suit for once.
yeah, exactly. It was actually Andy Serkis, who was also great.
Mhm.
Um, ScarJo was great. Piper Perabo was great as Andrew's wife.
Mhm.
Like I said, a lot of great acting, a lot of
Mhm.
great acting in this, and one of the great stories that just requires more and more viewings going forward.
Yeah, it's a classic for sure. Um,
Yeah, maybe next time we hang out, we'll watch this and we'll watch the new Nolan film Tenet. I know that just came out recently, but I've been
mhm.
wanting to watch that too.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, we'll make it a day of it.
Yeah, we've been watching a lot of movies lately, and I mean more so than normal. Maybe because we just can't go anywhere, so it's like fuck it, let's just watch movies.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, because you were over what on Sunday again?
I was over last week on Wednesday, and then again I was there on Sunday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we watched two Marvel movies.
Yeah, we watched
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy and the the Avengers: Age of Ultron.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which yeah, I actually like the second Avengers movie. A lot of people didn't really care for it, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, I
I
think
like
it's
it.
great because it really sets up the tone for what's to come and like the changing.
Hmm. Right, and I
Um,
think it just like, and then again, it just highlights, uh, or just highlights more of the differences between Captain America and Iron Man, which then culminate within Captain America: Civil War.
which is the movie that we are, my wife and I are currently watching.
Mm, it's a good one.
It is. I'm having to play DVD commentary on that one.
Yeah, I know. I remember. It's like, who's that guy? Like, what's he doing? See, why is he doing that? It's like, what did he say? What did he say when I said what did he say?
Yeah, and that's one of those things where it's like I would love to watch movies like Memento or Prestige with her, but like I think
Hmm.
she would have, because it's one of those movies you have to really pay attention.
Right.
Like, you don't talk, you don't do anything, you pay attention to what's going on,
Hmm.
and but the payoff is big. It's worth it
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
you
exactly.
just focus.
Hmm.
It's not just a movie that you can watch, kick up your feet and just like it's like yeah, great movie, and throw some popcorn
Right.
in your face.
Yeah, and
No,
like half the time, like, be on your phone or something. You have to pay attention to this movie.
yeah, it's like it's focus, pay attention. It's worth it. Trust me. Watch The Prestige, watch Memento, watch these movies. They're fucking awesome. But you have to pay attention. The payoff is worth it. Trust me.
Hmm. Absolutely.
I have nothing else to say about The Prestige other than it is fantastic. I don't know why I missed this movie, but I'm glad that I finally saw it.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. This is one of the great ones from Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Well, I think this is his like fourth movie, I believe.
Probably right.
There was Following, there was Memento, and then there was Insomniac, and I think there was this one that came afterwards.
Yeah, no, this was definitely, yeah, this movie, yeah, pre Dark Knight.
I think this came out the same year as Batman Begins as well.
Maybe you're right.
I'm looking that up real quick because this came out in 2006.
Oh, no, no, Batman Begins was the first one. That came out 2005,
Okay, so
and
all
then
right, so
Prestige
this
came
is
out in
his.
2006. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, this is yeah, because there was Following, Memento, Insomnia, Batman Begins, The Prestige, then there was The Dark Knight,
Hmm.
Inception, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Dunkirk, and then it came out with Tenet.
Hmm.
And Tenet, like I'll have to because what is it? James watched this one. He said he really liked it, so
Hmm.
I'll have to watch that one.
Hmm. Indeed.
Um, all right. Well, what's your rating, Andy, on this movie?
Mm, I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this a 4. But 4 with an asterisk. with the option of increasing later.
Decreasing?
Increase, increase or decrease. I don't know. Cause yeah, I think I want to. As many times as I've seen this movie, I think I want to watch it just a little bit more, maybe with a more critical
Oh,
eye.
we're far off, honey. This is a 5-star movie for me. This is I know that this is a movie that uh yeah, this is great. The acting is great, the storyline is great, the twists are great, and I can't wait to watch more to miss some of the details that I to gather some of the details that I missed in the first viewing. I already can't wait for my second, third, fourth watching of this movie because I know it's just gonna get better. This is like I said, Memento is my second favorite movie of all time. Have I still learn things about that movie every time I watch it, which we might have to do a review on Memento. Maybe we'll do Memento next week, uh, since we're kind of doing a hodgepodge month. I think that might be what we should watch next week is Memento. But Prestige is awesome. I love it. It's this is this is on my list. This might be number 11 on my list of favorite movies.
All right. Well, there you have it. That was our review of The Prestige. Robert gives it a 5. I get a 4 with an asterisk with an option to increase or decrease. I don't know. But likely I will increase the score, but just after
Liar.
just with just watching with again as many times as I watch this movie, I want to go back and watch it with a more critical eye. So I give this movie a 4 with an asterisk to amend my rating sometime later.
All right.
But yes,
Well,
it
maybe
was highly recommended. If you haven't already seen this, what the hell are you waiting for? Go watch it.
this is
It
a
is.
movie like how I feel kind of like about Metropolis. Like we're really only scratching the surface of this movie. This movie requires like its own episode to talk about. Um, it's that good.
Mm. Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, but I just want a little bit more time with it. Is all I'm saying. So that's what that asterisk really means. I just need more time with it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have you come over later this week. We'll watch Memento together, and maybe we'll talk about that next week. If our initial plans don't change.
Oh, right. Excuse me. Yeah, it's talking for over 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm
You
ready.
get tired. You get tired.
Yeah, I'm ready to call it an evening.
All right. Well, let's do it then. All right. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know this. I don't think this is the longest episode of Nocturnal Transmissions, but it's up there. Just don't forget to check out the library of other shows that we have. The Circular Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to check out our social media accounts, Twitter and LetterboxD at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circular Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we want to thank you for joining us, and let's do it all again next week.
Sounds like a plan to me.